Okay, so here's another example. Let's start with our coefficient 4 and negative 8. Okay, notice I said negative 8. I did not just say 8. That's important. And if I think, well, what is the common factor of 4 and 8? Well, I could prime factor, but this is easy enough to know that 4 goes into both of them. So my common factor is going to be 4. Okay? And then I'm going to say, okay, well, what goes into x squared and x? Well, the smaller of the two is x. So they only share one x. This one has 2, but this one has 1, so the answer is x. Now let's look at my y's. This is y to the third, and this one is y squared. So again, I'm going to say, well, this has 3 y's, this has 2, so they only have 2 in common. So y squared. And then this has 1z, this has 3 of them. They only have 1 in common. Notice I'm picking the smaller exponent from each letter. That had 1, that had 2, so I put the x. This one had 3, this had 2, so I put the 2. This had 1, this had 3, so I put the z. Okay? And this would be your common factor, 4x y squared z. Okay, one last one. Okay, and then hopefully that will get you started on the homework. The next one says, find the greatest common factor of 16x squared, y p to the third, and negative 4x to the third, y squared p, okay, plus 2x squared y squared p to the 15th power. Okay, let me check my work. I just want to make sure that I got that. And then you guys should always check your work because half the problem is not copying it right, okay? All right, so let's start with our coefficient. I'm going to underline that. 16, negative 4, and positive 2. All right, so what do they have in common? Well, and I don't know now, I can't think if I put a negative on the other answer or not. I didn't put the negative, and you should not have put the negative. It should have only been a 4. So if I put the negative, then I'm sorry, I apologize for that, but you shouldn't be putting it. All right, because they don't share a negative in common, they only share the numbers. Okay, so 16, 4, and 2. Now, a factor means whatever two numbers multiply together to make up a product. That means my factor can't be 16, and it can't be 4, my greatest common factor, because 16 times nothing is 2. 16 times nothing is 4. So I have to start with the smallest number, just like I start with the smallest exponent. So this is the smallest number. The only thing that 2, 4, and 16 have in common is 2. If I put anything else, then it means I'm not really understanding what a factor is, because factors make up a number, and nothing times in anything except 1 times 2 is 2. So the answer is 2. That's the only thing they share. Another thing is, in order for it to be a greatest common factor, it has to be in all of the terms. So if this was a 3, for example, well, 2 goes into 16, but it doesn't go into 3. So they would not share a common coefficient. Okay? So the common factor when they don't share anything is 1. We call that prime. So be careful of that. That's not the case here, but sometimes you do see that situation. So our GCF is 2. Now, do with the letters starting with the smallest exponent. That's 2x to the third, x squared. So the most amount of x's I can write down is x squared. Now I'm going to do my y's. There's y first, y squared, y squared. So the most amount of x's is y. And the same thing applies with my variable. So if this y was missing from this term, that means they don't all share a y, so I wouldn't be able to put it here. So be careful. All right, p to the third, p to the first, p to the 15. They share a p. I'm going to go back and make sure I wrote all the terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, all the parts of the term. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yes, that's correct. Okay, now I'm going to regroup these. 2x, or sorry, I'm going to put them in alphabetical order. 2px squared y. Now that's not really that important. I'm not going to count it wrong if you do it that way. It's just helpful when I'm grading, and plus when you start doing other things and other parts of this lesson, you'll understand why it's important to group them together. Okay, so I hope that that answers your questions, or actually you didn't ask any questions, but if you had questions, I hope that you understood what I said, and this lesson is not too difficult for you. Unfortunately, there's not any GO, so you do have to do all of it, okay? Take care, guys.